What up, my awesome viewers? Rio Gion here. So the LG V60 Peak Android versus Note 20 Ultra. Not Peak Android because it's missing the headphone jack, but almost everything else is kind of a step up compared to this, including price. So what we're looking at here, we are looking at the LG V60 128GB version. On the Note 20 Ultra, we're looking at the 512GB version with the 12 gigs of RAM. So this is like the top spec one. I think this one is the base spec one because there is a spec that's higher for the V60. There's the 256 gigs of storage. I think also 8 gigs of RAM, or it could be 12 gigs of RAM. It could be. Comment down below. I'm pretty sure you guys know more and are more than willing to correct me. But anyways, that's what we're dealing with. So, first things off is definitely going to be battery life, because I feel like that's the most important thing to me. V60 will win because it has 5,000 milliamp battery. It will last longer. It will last not significantly longer, surprisingly not significantly longer, but it will last longer. In terms of how much longer, I estimate about an hour to an hour and a half longer. Yeah, that's basically my usage of it, but my usage is very different from most people's usage because I use these phones to play emulators. I play Dolphin, GameCube, PS2, like the higher end stuff and the lower end stuff. So we're talking anything with like 2D, SNES, Game Boy Advance, Color, regular Game Boy, PlayStation 1, all the way up into PS2. And then, so, personally for me, with the V60 I get around, I would say, on like a very heavy day, 6.5 hours battery life. But then again, it's screen on time, which is also not accurate too. But that's the number that I'm seeing. The Note 20 Ultra, 5.5 hours. Then again, also screen on time, also not accurate. So yeah, but then again, my use case is like kind of extreme. So I think maybe your use case, if it's even more extreme, there's the worst, absolute like worst case scenario for the V60 would be 4.5 to 5 hours, like the absolute worst case of me blowing it up to the TV and not charging it and just playing games, like blowing it up to like a 60-inch TV. So that's about 4 hours, about, give or take. This is gonna be like around 3. So this is gonna be like at the lower end. If you were to just put this phone in DeX mode, blow it up to the TV, do not bother charging it at the same time. That's how much you're gonna take. So that's in terms of battery life, which is the most important thing to me. To you, might not be to you. You know, you're around chargers. I'm also around chargers, so, but yeah, there's that. Second thing is performance. Surprisingly, I really thought this would overheat and slow down like the Fold 3, but it surprisingly does not overheat and slow down like the Fold 3, which is very surprising. But then again, this is the 865 Plus and not the 888, so I think that could have been the reason. This does, I want to say it does not overheat. It does get warm. It also slows down, not significantly, but it does slow down from time to time. But then again, like the stuff that's slowing me down is like me playing Battlefront 2 twice native settings, like the extreme stuff. If you were to just play like regular Android games or things like that, because I know a lot of the YouTubers, they play PUBG or Fortnite or whatever particular flavor of Android game, Genshin Impact, they put in the highest setting and they're like, performance is great. Well, yeah, performance is going to be great because it's more of like optimized because it's an Android game. I'm doing emulators, so performance is almost not great most of the time. Sparingly, sometimes it is. So, and then you gotta tweak the settings a lot too. So there's that as well. But with emulation is like a whole another ball game in terms of things to look out for. But if you are an emulation gamer and you just want to get a phone to play emulators and not care about any other thing, V60 is your winner. Because of the fact that you just have better battery life, and if you're on the go and you don't have a charger with you, this is going to last you a longer time. That's just hands down. It's because it is a physically bigger battery, 5,000 milliamp versus 4,500. So because it's just a physically bigger battery, you are going to get a longer battery life. And if you purely care, just emulation, this is the winner. Now it comes to cameras. Cameras, because I do videos, obviously, I have to care for cameras because the wise words of MKBHD, the best camera is the one that's in my pocket. This particular camera is not always going to be in my pocket. In fact, most of the time, 95% of the time, this camera is at home. So when I'm out and about, this camera is in my pocket. And when this camera is in my pocket, I have to say it's a great experience. Because I have 3 focal lengths, I have ultra wide, main, and periscope. And that's fantastic. And then on top of that, I also have a pretty decent to high-end selfie camera. And on top of that, I have an S Pen that doubles up as a remote to take pictures and to film videos with. And that to me is just awesome. Like the overall tool list of usefulness is here on the Note 20 Ultra. And the fact that it is 512 gigabytes on top of micro SD expansion, that is so awesome. Like, I no longer have storage anxiety like I do with the Fold 3. With the Fold 3, I have storage anxiety. With the V60, I sort of have storage anxiety because I only have 128 gigs of internal storage. So sometimes if I want to store stuff internally, I kind of have to watch it because it's 128 gigs. But with 512 gigs of internal storage on top of micro SD, and with the micro SD, you get a terabyte of micro SD on top of the 512 gigs, and it's like, wow, that's just, I no longer have storage anxiety. Let's just say that, which is one of the biggest thing for me, is storage anxiety and not having enough stuff to store, because I'm not sure about you guys and how you store your stuff, but I know there are people that store a lot of movies and TV shows and things like that. I store a lot of video games, like entire libraries of games at that spans multiple consoles, entire libraries of games, multiple consoles. And when it gets to some of the bigger consoles, I have to decide, like, okay, do I want this X amount of games or things like that? So, but with this, I basically store like my personal collection, and it is fine. It is absolutely fine, which is awesome. So there's that. And then, so that's what storage. Cameras, we covered that. Screen size. It's actually not that big of a difference, but if you were to look at it through the lens. You do see that the V60 over here is a little bit narrower, and is it a little bit shorter or taller? No, it's the same. It is the same length as the Note 20 Ultra. Yeah, so in terms of height, it is the same, but in terms of like width, the Note 20 Ultra is just wider because it's like a rectangle. Wow. What a V60 is not a rectangle. So it's just, in terms of the wideness, it's just not as wide with the V60. So if you don't mind like a narrower display, which is just ever so slightly narrower, which not like a crazy amount of narrow, but it is narrower, then the V60 is fine. With the Note 20 Ultra, you do have a wider screen display because it's just it is a rectangle. That's the best way to say it as. And oh, in terms of weight, hang on, I'm gonna be right back. Yeah, I'm back, and hopefully be more focused, please. I need you to focus for me. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of weight, with the V60 with the slim case, and of course I'll link these down below, you are looking at 250 grams for the V60. For the Note 20 Ultra, you're looking at 229 grams. So not that big of a difference, but you do feel it, like in terms of actually just holding the two phones. This feels significantly heavier just based off of feel. This feels much lighter, which just based off of me just holding the two devices. So there's that. And in terms of sound, now sound is going to be important, because with sound, the V60 is going to win based off of the fact that you have a quad DAC headphone jack. It is going to win. In terms of actual speakers, the Note 20 Ultra is going to win. So if you use regular headphones, if you care for the headphone jack, go team headphone jack. Headphone jack matters to you. The V60 is a clear winner because it has a headphone jack. It has a great headphone jack, by the way. So just because some phones have headphone jacks, but the V60 has a great headphone jack with the quad jack. And a lot of the people, or some people, might dismiss it. But after you plugging your headphones into the V60 and then plugging it into a different device that does not have the jack, you will notice the difference. You will notice the difference like right away. Like that's how I feel when it comes to the V60 and the awesomeness of headphone jack. And with a Note 20 Ultra, of course, you trade your headphone jack for an S Pen. So if you feel like the S Pen selfie remote control stick is more usefulness than the headphone jack, then of course that is there. That is something that you are going to have to give up. But if you can spend more money, get those DAC that plugs into the USB-C port, then you should be fine, or go wireless. But if you have a V60 and you are going wireless the whole entire time with the V60, don't buy an expensive pair of headphones. You don't have to spend that much money, but just buy a decent enough pair of headphones that just has the regular aux port to plug it into the V60 and try it out. And then I feel like once you have, you'll never want to go back. That's what I feel like. But yeah, so the V60 wins with the headphone jack, just purely based off of sound. V60 is a winner. But overall, like usefulness and just which device that I personally would really want to have in my arsenal of device as having a folding phone and a regular phone. Whew, that is very tough. As much as I like the V60, the Note 20 Ultra is gonna win. So why Note 20 Ultra, right? Why Note 20 Ultra over V60? Okay. Because when I make videos, it has dual recording, which means it records from the selfie camera and it records from a regular camera at the same time. And for me, when I travel and film, this is infinitely more useful than this, because this will film my reaction along with whatever that I see in the world at the same time. This cannot do that unless you use a third-party app. And I have tried using third-party apps and 99% of them crash. So I have not yet found an app for this that does not crash. So there's that. Besides the camera, it's just the overall 512 gigs of storage. That is so useful to me. Which I know, if you have the 256 gigs for the LG V60, it won't be as bad. Right. It will not be as bad. Which I know that. But the LG V60 does not have 512 gigs that the Note 20 Ultra has. So that's where that comes in. And with the LG V60, I do have the GSM Unlock version, but this is from the AT&T variant of the Unlock version. So sometimes when I put my SIM card in here, I can call people. People cannot call me unless I call them first and then they call me and then it works. So if you ever want a phone where you don't want people to call you, period, like you just don't want people to call you, this is the AT&T GSM Unlock variant is the one to go with, because people will just not call you because they can't. Like, the connection is just not going to go through unless you call them first and then they can call you back. But yeah, so honestly, I think this feature per se is actually more useful than a lot of people think it is, because I know that there's a lot of spam calls and stuff going on. So having the ability of people not connecting with you through phone call could be something of a blessing. So if that is your case, the V60 is the winner. But unfortunately for me, I need people to call me, because there are just people in my life where they're not super technologically savvy and they just don't want to text and they don't want to go through like social media apps. They just want to call when they need something, when they need help or whatever the case is. Having a phone that can be able to connect is important to me, even though spam calls, I have to block so many numbers within a given workday. But yes, so there's that. And also S Pen selfie stick remote. That to me is very useful because when I travel, I like to take lots of pictures. I like to take pictures with other people that I meet. So yeah, that to me is very useful. So I like this a lot. And overall, that's basically how I feel between the two devices. I feel like the general public, you would benefit a lot more from the V60 just because it's 250 to 350. The Note 20 Ultra range from my particular variant will range from $500 to $1,000. Crazy amount of money. So yeah, especially for a Note 20 Ultra. So if you don't want to spend that much money on the 512 gigs, just get the 128 and save yourself a boatload of money. Let's do that. Because I think the 128 gigs range from $400 to $600. That's the 128 gig version. Yeah. I have the black 512, so I have the one where it's like the back of the phone is like a mirror. Like, yeah, there we go. It's like a mirror in the back. And yep, so that's what I use it for there. And yeah, overall that is my thoughts and feelings on using both devices for a significant amount of time. Where I feel like overall general public V60, the V60 is going to be your winner. But personally, to have a daily driver that's a non-foldable, I am going to take the Note 20 Ultra because that 512 gigs of storage is so freaking sweet. Oh, that's pretty much it. So anyways, if you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up for more content. You guys stay awesome.